I think with that, over to you, Thorsten.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining here today. And as I promised Janos, I didn't bring too many slides. So I thought, how can I maybe bring up some questions that I find important for next year, and that has to do a little bit with what we are doing at the SUX network. And I have a very few slides about what we are doing there at the moment and what the next things are that we are plan to do in 2026. Very shortly about me, I'm Thorsten. I work in digital sustainability for quite some time now. I know a bunch of you wonderful people already. And yeah, I do that for a bunch of years now, trying to make the digital world a little bit more sustainable, mainly from a design perspective, but also beyond. I'm, besides founding the SUX network, I'm also one of the authors of the Web Sustainability Guidelines at the W3C, for example. And yes, I dedicated my work life to digital sustainability. And for today's call, when I thought about, okay, what can I bring? Should I bring a bunch of slides? And well, Janos knows me. He knows that I can talk for a long time about all these things. And so I thought, no, maybe that's not so good for today. So I thought, hey, what are 4 key questions, or that I think are key questions for this year? And I want to say a few words how that is related to my work and to our work. But I'm also happy to hear your thoughts about that later on. And the first question, since, well, I'm the digital sustainability guy, for sure, is what is the environmental impact, especially the environmental impact of the digital experiences, digital products, websites, whatever we build, because they all have a huge environmental impact, right? So just data centers are responsible for, I think at the moment, it's 2% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, right? The whole internet is on a very good way to reach the 8% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. So all the beautiful things we are designing, we are building, we are programming, we are running, they have a huge environmental impact. And the cool thing is there are many things that we can do to make it more sustainable in terms of less harmful. So better image compression is a very simple image example, for example. Or as some of you might have heard, most of the stuff, most of the contents, most of the data that we store in the internet is not used by anybody. Up to 90% of everything that is stored on actively running servers is not used by anybody. Just imagine we could get rid of half of that stuff. And if we relate that to our products, well, we could say, how about we give our contents, our data a lifetime, so that they die at a certain point when we realize we don't need that anymore, right? As I said, I could talk for much more minutes and hours about these topics, but I just want to give you a glimpse why I think it is important, and there is a huge lever that we can use actually to make the world more sustainable. And the cool side story is it's also a business case, because if you again imagine about or think about all these servers, right, that we run, that store all these data, all that stuff, if we could get rid of half of them, well, do the math. You know how much server capacity costs, right? And there is also the savings in terms of money that we see when we build more sustainable digital experiences. But it's not only the environmental impact. And that leads me to the second question, because my second question is, who pays the price? Who is paying the price for everything that we are doing, that we are building? So I'm coming from a design perspective, from a UX perspective. I'm designing user experiences, and I try to design them as nice and beautiful as possible for the users, right? I want to build the greatest experiences for users. And I used to work in a digital agency for many, many years, and we always fought for putting the user in the center of our doing. But what we did not consider is who else is maybe impacted by whatever we build, right? If Amazon builds a great user experience for me as the user, then it is paid by the delivery drivers, for example. It is paid by the workers in the fulfillment centers, right? So if Airbnb builds a great experience for me, finding a nice room in Lisbon or London or wherever, it's paid by the residents who cannot afford to live in the cities anymore. So everything that we do always has an impact to other people, to other actors, not only environmentally, what I spoke about at the first question, but also on a societal level. And so I think an important question with, well, not only the digital things we build, but in general is, who is paying the price for what am I doing? And what is the real price for what am I doing and for what am I using, actually? And that brings me to my second or third question, and that's about AI, right? So when and how do I use AI? And yes, I know we all talk about AI, or especially Gen AI, all the time. But coming back to my second question, who pays the price? Here it is maybe even more important to ask, what's the true price for Gen AI? What's the true price for using it? Who else is paying the price, right? Being it environmentally, and the environmental price for Gen AI is even higher than what I just told you about the price of our digital experiences and products and services we build. So we see an exponential growth of energy hunger at the moment because of the rise of Gen AI and because of the new data centers that needs to be built to run these rise of AI. And this is not only an environmental impact in terms of the carbon emissions that are emitted, it's also an energy problem. So for example, here in Germany, so Frankfurt is the region with the most or the highest density of data centers, because there is the important internet. What's the word? Not whatever, right? So in Frankfurt. And the reality right now is that these data centers need so much energy that at the moment there cannot be built new data centers because there is no more energy left in the grid. So that's the reality we are facing at the moment with the rise of AI. And so my point here is not the question that we should get rid of all AI, but we need to ask ourselves, where shall we use it and where maybe not, right? Where is the price too high, and who is paying the price? Being it other people, but in the end also being it ourselves, right? Because Gen AI is trained by the creative work of humans, and they get not compensated for them. Or if we use the Gen AI models, especially if you are from Europe, right? If we use the big models from the US-driven companies, digital sovereignty is maybe one of the most discussed terms at the moment, right? In the end, we are paying the price by ourselves. And that's, yeah, my point always is we should be better at or understanding better what AI, Gen AI really does, and when to use it and how to use it. And then it can be an extremely powerful tool, but it's not these magic wand actually that is doing everything for me, and that is just making everything faster and so on. So important question for next year that also drives us at the Sachs Network is, when and how do we use AI, not we use AI, and how can we maybe educate people better in how to understand AI and when to use it and use it the right way. And that brings me to my last question, and maybe the most important. I call it using as is or shaping as it should be, because what we see in the digital world in general, and even more in AI at the moment, is, right, that we have a few huge big tech companies that drive the whole progress in digital tech, if we are honest. And what I see at the moment is that too often we just take it as it is, right? They give us, here is the new feature, use it. We are not questioning it enough. And well, again, as a person with a design perspective, even more, maybe I'm asking myself, how can we get into a position from using the stuff and discussing, I don't know, how we do use the great vibe coding tools or whatever, into a position where we say, hey, how can we shape this technology in a way that it should be, that it is good for everybody, that it is helping make or creating more delightful lives for everybody on this planet, right? Because I think technology can do this, but at the moment it's rather creating a better world for a handful of people that are at the richest people in the world. So this just as an introduction for what drives me, what drives us at the SUX network, and what backs actually the mission that we have at the SUX or Sustainable UX network. Because what we want to do is we want to make digital experiences sustainable by default, right? So how can we make all the digital experiences, and you could maybe even put out the digital, how can we make things or make sure that these things are sustainable by default? And that's what we do at the SUX network. So we are a nonprofit community and initiative. So we do local events, we do online events, we have a podcast, we have a huge resource database. I will talk about that in a minute. So the community and enabling people all over the world in creating more sustainable experiences, that is actually what we try to do. One core thing, and that's something we are going to release hopefully already in January, is the SUX playbook. So the idea of the SUX playbook is to create a very practical tool set and guidelines to help everybody to bring sustainability into new products and services, right? Being at designers, but honestly, being at everybody who is building digital products. And Justin, you raised your hand, I saw, and Jeff as well.
This sounds one. How do we get a copy of the SUX playbook?
You can come to our website. There is a bunch of tools is already available. You find them there, and I just put online yesterday. You can sign up to our internal newsletter, and then you get informed as soon as we release the playbook. So it will be for free, so we can just use the tools. And the first set, and I will show one or two, I think, is available already. And yeah, Janos posted the link, so you will find everything on the website. Or if you have questions, just feel free to ping me at every time. Super happy to discuss.
Jeff, did you also want to comment something? I'm expecting dragons.
No, excuse me. I just wanted to say it's really encouraging to see somebody tackling this stuff. One of the things that I've found really useful in conversations with stakeholders is, and I don't think this is disingenuous, but focusing on the increasing token budget for AI projects, where more and more problems are being solved by layering more and more and more layers of AI on top of a problem that isn't necessarily well understood. For a long time, I think there's been a confidence that eventually that'll just hit the awesome point and everything will be cool. But I think particularly in a world where like AI costs are mostly subsidized by investors right now, planning for what does the future look like when tokens aren't essentially, a subsidized loss leader. Are the products and the services that we're building something that can even be financially sustainable on the other side of that if we've assumed there's going to be all those layers in it? I think that's a question that's becoming more compelling and is a useful stepping stone to some of these questions.
Absolutely. And maybe to add, I think you said subsidized by investors. If we are honest, not only subsidized by investors, but subsidized by ourselves and by the future, right? Because there is a hidden price that is not paid by the investors or by the organizations, but by us in the future, by other people somewhere else in the world, and that is invisible, and making that transparent and making, so what I see in conversations and when I do my workshops about these things, right? It's most people still are not aware of this, not because they're not interested, they just do not know. And it's important for us, for all of us, to create more transparency, to have a fair and open discussion about, right, what is the true price, what is the value I get from AI for my use case, and what is the real price for it, and is it worth it? And that's what I hope we can drive more of these conversations. But someone else raised his hand. I think.
How about you, René?
We can't hear you. At least I can't.
Yeah, well, he has the
Sorry.
son, he has his kids.
There's a little doubt here.
There we go.
Sorry. I would support what you've said about the cost of AI and the token prices. I think there will be a big shift because everything is subsidized currently by investors. There will be next year a great shift towards FinOps and more of a focus on return of investments. Because as you said today, everybody tries to solve problems that can easily automated with technologies we already have to solve it with AI. And the second part is, I think, especially in Europe and in China, we are approaching AI in a different way than in the US. In the US, as you already explained, we see a lot of the bigger the better. And from a research perspective, Europe and China is very good in creating smaller and more efficient models because we cannot do it. We don't have enough. Well, maybe China, but in Europe we cannot do it. So there's not enough space for all the data center, for example. And as you said before, there's not enough energy yet to create them. So I think, especially in Spain, and in France with Mistral, they are very far in creating what you would call it sustainable models.
Yeah, I find especially this idea of smaller models super interesting, and I mean there is already big companies who back that, right? That putting the biggest models on everything is most often not the best option, right? For many use cases, it's way more efficient on many ends to use a smaller model that you can run also on a server controlled by yourself. And I know that hosting companies, for example, also in Germany, started providing AI hosting, so you can, on a server in their data center, host a model, can even choose a model, right? And then
from my point of view, as a consulting company, I would like to have my consultants to run these small language models on their own machines, right? I don't want to have a data center.
Yeah.
If you're traveling with Deutsche Bahn, there is no internet connection, and then you still want to work, right? And
all right, I'm gonna cut off unusually a little bit this Q&A because I'm pretty sure Thorsten has more for us.
A little bit more. Okay, I'll go. I'm happy to continue. Yeah.
Thank you, René, Justin, much appreciated.
So the SAX playbook, as I said, right? The idea is to have a practical toolkit. Just to give you a very short glimpse on the core idea is we have key phases of how we look at digital products, services, and you could also think about AI there, right? And it's always about understanding negative impacts of whatever I'm doing, and then breaking that down to an executionable level. Because in the end, right, if I know my digital product has a huge carbon impact, yeah, but how do I tackle that? I need to break it down to a level that is, right, my project or product level. And that's the last thing here, I need to repeat it and not do it once, but make it an integral and default part of my doing. So, and the layer below, the shifting the narrative, that is super important, because as important as it is to do these things, it's important to tell the right stories about it and to convince people, right? Someone mentioned FinOps, and it's the business case of sustainability. It is there, but most people are not aware of it. So it's still on us actually to tell people, hey, it's not only good for the future or for the planet or for the next generations, it's also good for for the business. It's also good for the money. So that's the idea of the playbook. And Sven, you raised your hand.
Yes, just one question for better understanding. The idea of a lifetime for content. So there's a content that's quite loved by the audience, but I have a lifetime. After 6-12 months, it disappears from the net. And maybe someone is looking for this stuff, and at the first round, he's looking at our website because he's used to have these kind of informations from us, and then he won't find it anymore. And as a reason of this, then he needs to do 6 searches more to find something like that. So, I mean, where does the idea come from then when I have less content in the web, that the usage of the servers is going down? Because maybe it only has the impact that I have to search more because there is less available. I don't know. I don't get this logic that it has to be that way.
The reality is, for most data and most content, nobody ever is searching for that. That's the point. I'm not speaking about this one content someone is searching about. Numbers rather show that nobody ever is looking at these things. So if we get rid at first of contents that nobody uses, and then in the second step, we could discuss about what could be more intelligent storage strategies, right? So I mean, content that needs to be archived can be put in a cold storage that does not need energy, for example. So that, but I think the first step would be to get rid of everything that nobody ever is looking at. And
I got it. It was just a kind of understanding. Because, thank you.
Hey, so I'm almost
keeping ahead of time.
Yes, Megan, almost there. So we have the playbook. Something else that we have is a huge resource collection, mainly of design resources for bringing sustainability into design. So that's not only tools from us, but we collected everything from that we can find. You can even submit your own tools if you have new ones. So you're more than invited to browse that as well. And well, we have spoken about AI a little bit. Me personally, but also the SUX network is also working on AI at the moment, yes, because when we speak about digital sustainability, we need to talk about AI as well. So we have, for example, a tool, the Responsible AI Canvas, that I run workshops on. Sometimes the main idea there is actually to evaluate a use case and balance or understand what are the positive outcomes, but also what are the negative outcomes. And right, is that in balance, or is it not in balance? As I said before, we also run events, and the idea is to have more of them next year. So hopefully to have a regular online event. That's one thing, but also having local events. There will be one in Copenhagen in January, probably a small one. There will be one in Amsterdam. I think probably in March, maybe already in February. There will be one in Hamburg, and more to follow. So you are more than invited. And if you are interested to bring SUX to your city, just get in touch. We run the SUX Academy, so that's the only thing that's not for free, I have to say. So we do courses for individuals as well as product and design teams on sustainable UX, but also on sustainability and ethics in Gen AI. And that's almost my last slide. And what's the SUX network? What's in for you, actually? Well, I want to invite you to just join. We have a huge Slack community and Slack space. That's for free. Well, you can take one of our trainings. If that's interesting, you can invite us for a talk or for a workshop, or you can also become an official sponsor of the network. So we are always looking for people supporting our work, because yeah, most of the stuff that we do, or everything that we do, is non-profit, and it's a mission by heart, actually, that we are running there. So people supporting us are always welcome. And Janos already knows that I always love ending my talks with a quote. And so I want to bring up a quote of Jane Goodall, who unfortunately passed away a few months ago. And she once said, just remember that every day you live, you make an impact on the planet. And I want to invite you to come with me on this journey, actually making the whole digital space more sustainable on all ends. And there we are, almost on time. Happy to connect. Happy to
Very
discuss
good.
more
I
questions.
persuade you to go back one slide. I did the thing too slowly that people do in person, and then smile. Very good. And then I think we even have time for a question, comment, reflection. I think the big summary I'm taking away is the Sustainable UX Network is still here, alive and kicking, doing well. Advocacy still on the agenda for next year. A lot more awareness still on the agenda, perhaps. As an interesting plot twist, AI might actually help drive this agenda, also with the tokens. I like the thing with making digital experiences sustainable by default, and then as a big thing in Q1, the playbook. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. And if someone is at the Green IO conference this week, so I will go to Paris tomorrow, and so happy to meet for a coffee. Getting together and discussing these things is important. Super important.
Good. Very good. I will, as usual, share this also with the slides and the links to the resources. Write this up as a summary for those who couldn't make it. For now, we're right on time, so I would say thank you very much for everybody who joined us. A big thank you in particular to Thorsten for doing one more presentation for us this year.
Thanks for having me. Really mean it.
Thank you. That's all we had. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Thank you.